This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. And again, Bill Daley featured interview over the weekend with Mike Flannery on Fox Chicago. Tackle a range of topics, including how Bill Daley is a reformer. He's a change agent. He's a structural change guy.
You can't, nor I or anyone else, make somebody honest. But you can change a system that has existed for almost 100 years that maybe leads the climate. We should have term limits. We should have no outside income. We should have the aldermen not mini mayors of their wards. We should make them more like legislators.
Don't you need the aldermen, though, to agree to take their own power away?
Yeah, he'll work on it. For more on the mayor's race, where it stands now with just 4 weeks to go before the primary election, where the top two finishers will then run off against one another to the first Tuesday in April. We're pleased to be joined by our friend John Cass, Chicago Tribune columnist extraordinaire. John, thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning. So the Burke Four, as they're being called by the other candidates, Preckwinkle, Daley, Chico, and Mendoza. Do you see those as the source of the top two finishers come February 26th, or are there opportunities for other candidates to make the runoff?
I think there are always opportunities when you have people clotted together like that. There's so many clotted together that no one's breaking really free of this thing. But if the four of them maintain the kind of media love they're getting, where they're allowed to call themselves change agents without much challenge, I think there are enough stupid people in the town to elect them.
Who is
one of them?
Yeah, who has impressed you so far, if any of the candidates of the 14?
I'm going always with the people that were in the race before Rahm Emanuel dropped out. Those are the people that I thought were the serious people in the race. They're the ones who understood Chicago was in deep, as Rauner used to say, doo-doo or yogurt. And I just think that they're the ones who are worthy of consideration. The ones that came in after Preckwinkle, Daley, Mendoza, and Chico, they're just status quo opportunists. They're part of the system that you guys talk about every morning.
So do you think
Do you think destroyed the city?
Do you think it's fair to call those four candidates then the Burke Four, or is there any candidate in the race that's not part of the sort of the Burke Madigan power system?
I think that given that this is Chicago, that anyone who's been involved in public life had to come up. But I think you see like Lori Lightfoot and Paul Vallis, they're more like technocrats than players. Chico and Mendoza, for God's sake, Mendoza. I just heard you yesterday. She's now talking about inflicting pain and torturing people, inflicting pain as they die. Right?
Yeah. Well, she's all about capital punishment. I mean,
yeah, Jesus.
Hang 'em high, Susanna. Yeah, no question.
That was a little shocking. But what about the surge in Daley? I mean, I know he's, saturating the airways on a national level and local level, and that's helping. But does he have any sort of budget plan in place? Does he have anything besides his name that he's running on?
I just think you should go, when you're thinking about any of these people, you should go back in time and look at their history. You look at the history of the Daley clan, what do you see? If I can't help my son, you can kiss my mistletoe. I think that's where it starts. The old man said it, and it really didn't change much. I'm not saying that these people are evil or that they're corrupt, but I'm saying that they come from a corrupt system, and I don't see how you can really expect change if you bring someone in from that system who are vested in that system. I mean, they'll tell you what you want to know, Amy. They'll talk to you about feral cat recovery.
Yeah.
They'll give you a feral cat plan.
That's what I'm running on when I'm running for
mayor.
I'm the queen of the cats.
What about on K through 12? There's some school choice friends of mine are saying, why is John being so tough on Gary Chico? He's a strong proponent of school choice. Now, I don't think he's the only one, but he's one of the few in the race, and perhaps he's the best positioned to win and to have somebody on the fifth floor who's a school choice proponent. So no moratorium on charters, and he'll fight Pritzker if he tries to eliminate the tax credit scholarships. Is that enough to reconsider Gary Chico's history in the Daley administration and at Ed Burke's right hand?
I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to hold it against Gary Chico that he came up. Really, he didn't come up with a silver spoon in his mouth. He came up on the South Side like I did. I'm from the same similar neighborhoods. He had to climb up the way he had to given the power structure that was around him. So Burke was the guy, was the man in that area, and he wrote it. But that doesn't mean when you're a lawyer and chairman of the school board, if you abstain hundreds of times from votes that your business is involved in, I wonder if there should be some consideration. There should be some, step back and think about what all this means. But I just don't think that there is that kind of reflection in town, and I think some of it has to do with the fact that the media is in such bad shape. There's fewer people covering the races, and then you have, a lot of people on broadcast, present company accepted, who I think are just
they're there
lightweights.
because they're lightweights. They don't know the history of this city, and they're on TV because they want to be on TV. They don't care about the stories. I mean, I saw somebody take a selfie at a double homicide. Are you kidding me? That person should be fired immediately.
By the way, you know what?
God, it makes me sick.
You know what? Comedian from Arlington Heights, the great comedian now,
Who?
Sebastian Maniscalco. You know what he calls a selfie?
What?
A lonely.
A
You're
lonely?
that lonely that you don't even have somebody to take a picture of you. I love that. That's
Nice.
a lonely.
I need to ask Amy. May I ask a question,
Yeah,
Amy?
of course, sir. Yeah.
Do you know that raccoons pass rabies to their children?
Yeah.
You're hanging with raccoons; they're full of rabies.
Yeah.
This whole feral cat thing has got to stop. And the next time I fill in for you, I want that whole studio, steam cleaned of cat hair.
Some of my
because
cat
it's just
hair
crazy,
is,
man.
yeah, it is on this chair. Hey, real quick, we wanted to ask you about your health. I know that you had a health scare, and people were very concerned. So what's going on? What happened?
You were on me, I remember, years ago, telling me to get on the Peloton or whatever bike, and I'm feeling better. Had a health scare, and I lost some weight. And I got to just get smart, and eat right and do what I have to do.
Good. Well, are you doing? How much weight have you lost, or is this personal?
I was down. I'm down about 20 some pounds.
Oh, that's
and,
awesome.
Yeah.
Don't you feel better?
I went cold turkey on the cigarettes at the same time, so
Ooh.
no carbs, no nicotine. Basically, people don't want to be around me on deadline because I do want to kill people.
You're a little
at that
jumpy.
moment.
It's all right. You'll get over this.
No.
But I'm proud of you. That's a huge accomplishment, John.
Now, has anybody noticed that you've lost 20 pounds?
I guess if I want to walk around when I'm at the office, if I, show them my suspenders and brag like that, but I don't want.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't want to do that.
Yeah, sure. No, I get it. Hey, I want to
Look
go.
at this.
Fall yes.
staff.
We're long live John Cass. We're all
We're
glad
so
to
proud
hear
of you.
that
We'll
you're.
get you a massage at an Asian parlor.
Yeah, Danny
parlor.
Solis has some recommendation. So I want to go back to the media thing that you mentioned, though.
Yeah.
Before we get to Danny Solis's musings. This from Jeff Carter, who writes at the Points and Figures blog. He's a venture capitalist guy. He writes about Chicago, saying, here's the problem. Well, first of all, he talks about the University of Chicago's Institute for Justice, free legal work for entrepreneurs who try to start businesses in Chicago. But here's the problem. The media refuses to cover the endemic corruption at City Hall that impedes the capital formation, business creation, job and job development. The media refuses to cover it. They refuse to cover it straight up. It should be on the radio, television, the papers, front and center each day, every day, 24/7. Instead, they go along and help cover it up. They try to show that it's isolated rather than a systemic and systematic way of doing business. Now, he exempts you, Kristen McQuarrie, me and Amy, and Mark Lennon at Wire Points from the media that don't cover this. But what about his point that the vast majority of the Chicago press corps is really in bed and does the bidding for big government, even this feudal, corrupt system of big government?
Well, I disagree in this sense. Without the Chicago Tribune, you wouldn't know that Mike Madigan locked up most of the downtown real estate in the city. So the Tribune and the Sun-Times, to some extent, do reporting like this. I think what he's referring to, at least I hope he's referring, is the broadcast media, particularly those who consider themselves grizzled political reporters.
Sure.
The ones who just always defer to power. Always. I've only been doing this 35 years. And you know it too, Dan, and you do too, Amy. There's a certain butt-kissing going on in broadcast, and it's not done on WIND, not on the Morning Answer, clearly. But it's done elsewhere. If you get the candidate on, you're so happy to get him on that you don't ask the tough questions. And when Bill Daley can go around talking about being a reformer, it makes me laugh. I mean, I remember when his brother floated a move to reduce the city council to 20. Right. And I walked into his office. I said, "What's this about?" And he said, "Fewer aldermen, more control." You get it? And I'm like, "Yes, Mayor, I get it."
Wow. Now, speaking of, I know we just touched on Danny Solis. Is there anybody there at the
The
Tribune?
hot stones treatment?
Yeah.
Well, are you guys trying to figure out what massage parlor and find out who his masseuse was?
I
Or
didn't
should I
hear
call
that last
TMZ?
part, Amy.
No, you're trying to find his masseuse, the lady that gave him a alleged happy.
Yeah, he wanted the happy ending, right?
Yeah.
Nice ending is the
No,
vernacular.
he said nice.
Is that what he's called it?
Nice ending.
A nice ending.
Nice
That is
ending.
So sweet.
Yeah.
Do men really do
Yeah,
that?
I don't really care.
Okay.
His ethnic predilections, whether he likes tall women, short,
he likes tall women.
Latinos, Europeans, or Asians. I think he likes Asian women, right? But I don't really care.
There's the question from this week's revelations per that FBI affidavit that was filed is not so much about Solis, of course, it's about Mike Madigan, since an interaction was part of what the FBI has obtained through surreptitious activity. The question is, do you think with, the 18,000 conversations they have of Solis and the 9,500 conversations they have of Burke, is this the beginning of the end of Mike Madigan?
If it is, then you're going to see the Democratic Party as Yugoslavia after Tito, because that's one thing to consider. I mean, he's held these tribes together. If he goes, and I do think that this is a move post Governor McConnell in Virginia. As a lawyer, you know that the case in the criminal case against the governor of Virginia was set aside by the Supreme Court because Justice Roberts, in his wisdom or lack of it, thought that when you do corrupt acts, you have to say something like, "Hey, I'm going to do this corrupt act, and will you help me? And then I'll give you a coat or a bribe."
Right.
It never works like that. People don't talk like that. But even given that, the federal government seems to have altered and shaped its approach post-McConnell in order to look at Madigan. And Madigan is, to me, the big story, as you pointed out. He's the big fish here.
And
big deal.
And the fact that the FBI included that in their affidavit, where no one has been charged related to that meeting at this point, that's different than some of their filings with respect to Burke, of course, who has been charged. Oh, what does that tell you? I mean, are they trying to telegraph something?
Yes, of course they are. I mean, they're not. Things aren't put in these affidavits by accident. And first, we don't know how far they go with Madigan. We don't know how many other aldermen have been wired up. We don't know how many times people have had to go down to the grand jury from the mayor of Chicago on down. We don't know. There's a lot we don't know. And this story will continue to give.
He is,
but right now, it's, to me, the main thrust of it is the culture of corruption is front and center. 4 weeks from the mayor's race, and you've talked about it. You were just talking about it this morning. The sort of soft, passive nature of the people of Chicago, and the people that slap them in the mouth every couple years. It goes on and on.
He is John Cass, Chicago Tribune columnist, of course. John, thanks so much for joining us, providing your insights as always. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks,
Keep up
Dan,
that
Amy.
weight loss and keep up not smoking. That's awesome.
We're gonna race on the Peloton as soon as I get mine.
Okay.
Amy,
good.
I'm going to get on a bike and send you a video, and I'm starting to look really good.
I love it.
I'm going to wear Lululemon pants when I do it now.
Oh,
Perfect.
That's perfect. Then maybe
Yeah.
move on to Athleta. But you know what?
All right.
Yeah,
Thanks,
and your
John.
complexion's going to get better. Everything, you're going to feel better. Everything's looking up for John Cass, who joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Listen to Dan and Amy on your smartphone. Download the AM560 mobile app today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
Diabetes.